Greetings, Earthlings. It is I, Christina, here at Fit and Bendy in Los Angeles with a mild and mellow full body stretch that is perfect for when you just want to loosen things up and not try very hard. So there's no equipment needed. Just lay down on the floor with me and let's get to stretching. Here we are, laying on the floor, body nice and heavy, knees bent, feet and knees hip width apart, arms wherever feels good to you. And we're going to start by just saying hello to our torsos and moving our spines in the most gentle way. So as you inhale, think about squeezing the muscles of your back, filling up your rib cage so my ribs are lifting closer to my chin. I'm using my lower back muscles to press my butt down into the floor. And then exhale, drop the chest back down, flatten the spine out onto the floor, and little bitty tuck in the pelvis to get that tailbone up. So as I use my breath, I'm just feeling into my entire spine from my tailbone all the way up to right below the neck. At this point, I'm trying to not let the neck get too involved here. We're trying to allow the neck muscles to relax by letting the head just be heavy on the floor like a big old bowling ball. You can experiment with how big a movement you want to have. At this point, we are not trying for anything challenging. We're not trying for anything painful. It's really just about using the movement that you have available to you in your spine right now, feeling the muscles that control and support your spine, both in the back and the front of the body. So when I'm inhaling, I'm really feeling my back muscles, shortening my back muscles to lengthen the front. And when I exhale, I'm feeling my abdominal muscles, my obliques, dropping my chest down. My diaphragm is engaged to blow that air out. And a little bit of butt if you want, just to get that deeper tuck of the pelvis. Let's do a couple more here. You do not have to keep pace with me. You can slow this down to get nice, long, yummy breaths. And on this next one, we're going to stop in our inhale position. So keep breathing normally. Don't hold your breath here. But we're finding this position. And then I'm going to take both of my arms and press my arms down into the floor. I'm trying to slide my fingertips down towards my heels to bring my shoulders away from my ears. And by pressing my palms, the backs of my arms down, I'm just getting a little bit more engagement through my back. See if you can feel all the muscles along your spine. Check in with the muscles of the upper back, maybe a little more mid back, maybe a little more lower back that might slide your butt up just a little bit towards your ribs. And we're just going to hold here and feel those back muscles engage. Again, it's gentle. We are not trying super hard. We're just saying, hi, back muscles. I acknowledge you and appreciate you. All right. And then relax that down. And now we're going to try to find the other position, the exhale position. So now I'm imagining these 2 points of my rib cage pulling in towards each other. The 2 hip bones pulling in towards each other. They don't actually move, but imagine that they could. The belly button pressing down into the floor, the sides of my waist pulling in. So all of these muscles through my torso are hugging me in and lengthening my spine out onto the floor. The pelvis is tucking. I'm pulling my heels in towards my butt to get the backs of the legs helping out just a little bit. And then again, I'm going to float my arms up towards the ceiling, reaching my fingertips, using my arms to help me exaggerate this rounding position. So even pulling my shoulder blades a little bit forward. So I'm thinking about my fingertips and my knees lengthening up towards the ceiling. Try not to let those shoulders hunch up towards your ears. Keep them down away from your ears. And the head, you can roll it back and forth. It is still just a big, heavy old bowling ball. That's all it's doing right now. And just hold here. You can still breathe, right? You're not tensing so hard that you can't breathe anymore. It's very mellow. It's very gentle. And I'm saying hi to all of those torso muscles. One more breath here. And then relax it down. Arms float down. All right. Then And just kind of wiggle it around a little. And we're just trying to find our like neutral spine, which is the position that your spine is in when you're not trying to make it do something else. So a little bit of natural arch in the back. For most of us, it's going to be a little bit off the floor here. And then we're going to do some movement with our shoulders. And I'm going to do one at a time. So I'm starting with this right shoulder. And I'm going to start by sliding that shoulder up towards my ear and then sliding it down like I'm reaching my fingertips for my heel. And as I do this, I'm doing my very best to keep the back of my shoulder resting on the floor. So I'm trying to not lift it up and let it come forward. And like everything that we're going to be doing in this workout, it is freaking mellow. So we are not going for max effort here. We're going for an exploration of our body's range, seeing what's available to us, working through anything that feels kind of crinkly, crackly, crunchy, or nasty, and just getting that little bit of movement there. Let's do one more, lifting up, and then reach those fingertips down towards the floor. Keep reaching for your heel, and we're gonna rotate the arm out. So I'm trying to turn my palm as far out away from me as I can, and then rotate it in. So for this one, I've lifted my arm up off the floor just a little bit so I can get the full range, but I'm still rolling my hand along the floor. And again, just trying to use the minimum amount of muscle possible to make this movement happen. And the hope and the dream is that you can feel this work inside the shoulder socket there. Might even feel a stretch in the shoulder, especially in that external rotation. When I turn out, you can feel a little bit of a stretch through the front of the shoulder. Something to enjoy. Let's go back and forth a few more times here. And then I'm going to stop with the palm facing out. And I'm going to try to slide that hand even further down away from me. If it feels nervy or tingly, you can just wiggle your fingers here. Now I'm going to take this earlobe and I'm going to slide it up towards the ceiling and back down. So I'm trying to get a little bit of a stretch through that right side of my neck. And I'm keeping my head really heavy on the floor. So I'm not picking up my head and moving it, which takes so much work in my neck. I'm just sliding my head on the floor and bringing it back, totally messing up my hairdo. Feel free to mess up your own. See if you can get that nice long length between your earlobe and your fingertips. You might feel a stretch anywhere from the ear all the way down to the fingertips, maybe in your elbow. All of that is cool. And then we're going to stop with that ear lifting towards the ceiling and just roll the head a little bit back and forth here. Try to let it be as heavy on the floor as possible. And bring it back up to center. And then we're going to take this hand and we're just going to slide it out. You want to stop before it gets to full shoulder height. So it's a little bit angled down. It's not all the way straight out from my side. And again, I'm trying to reach out as far as I can. So let's experiment with that. Slide the shoulder blade in towards your spine. Feel that sort of crunchy in feeling. And then slide that shoulder blade away from your spine so you can reach out even further. And again, just like we did with the spinal movement, we're playing with this scapular movement. We're exploring our range. We're not stretching. We're exploring our range, right? So there's no pain, there's no strain, there's no forcing. We're just allowing our body to move in the way that it moves. And let's stop with that palm reaching out nice and far. And now instead of lifting this ear up, I'm going to look away. So I'm going to roll my head like a heavy bowling ball away from that hand and bring it back up. And the hope and the dream, again, is that you feel that stretch anywhere between the earlobe and the fingertips. And I'm working to slide that arm away, so there's a little bit of work happening there. And obviously it takes a little bit of work to get my head to move. But man, it's pretty minimal work. Let's do 2 more. And then on this last one, keep your head over to the side and reach that hand out and just wiggle the fingers. Open and close a fist over there. Take some really long, slow, deep breaths. And then slowly bring that head back up to center and slide the hand back down to your side. Gentle AF, am I right? Let's do the other side. So I'm going to start by bringing that left shoulder up to my ear and down. And of course, as always, one side might feel really different than the other. And that's great. No problem with that. Just notice what's going on in your shoulder joint. And if it's available for you to start to make the movement bigger over time, go ahead and start to scoosh it up a little bit more, reach it out a little bit further, feeling those muscles in your upper back that make this movement happen. You can feel that shoulder blade sliding along the floor, right? That's the nice thing about doing this laying down, is you can really feel that shoulder blade sliding along the floor. Let's stop in that down position, and we're gonna find our rotation out and in. Just rolling that arm along the floor like a log. And just like a log, the arm is heavy, not trying to pick it up. Head is heavy, body's heavy, minimal amount of work here. The floor holds our bodies, enabling us to isolate our joints a little bit more and find the quieter movements that are sometimes harder to find when gravity is playing a bigger role. So think of these movements as being little whispers to your body. You're a body whisperer now. Let's stop in that external rotation, fingertips reaching down, and now lifting that left ear up and dropping it back down. And feeling that stretch along the left side of the neck, from the left earlobe all the way down to the left fingertips. Again, if it feels nervy or tingly, winkle your fingers a little bit to help release that nerve. The movement is good for nerviness. Keep feeling those muscles under the shoulder blade that slide the fingertips down towards your feet and create that length. You also want to make sure that the elbow is pretty straight. When the elbow is straight, you're going to get a deeper stretch. Let's stop with that ear lifting up, and we're just going to roll the head back and forth. So I'm still tilting my head over to the side as I roll it. And I'm still using the absolute minimum amount of effort possible. Just getting into those neck muscles. And we're going to do a couple more. Good. And bring that head back up to center. And now slide that hand till it's just below shoulder height, and we'll find our shoulder blade slides. Developing a healthy and intimate relationship with your shoulder blades just makes life feel a little bit better. They're on your back, so, how often do you really think about them? But they do so much really important stuff. They're so important for the health, not just of your shoulders, but of your neck and your upper back as well. So being able to feel those muscles that pull them in and the muscles that pull them out, and knowing how to control them, it's just going to make your life a little bit better, in my humble opinion. Let's stop with that arm reaching out, and now bowling ball to the right and back to center. And feeling that long line from that left earlobe all the way down to your right fingertips. Again, not forcing anything. If it feels nervy, please wiggle your fingers. The heavier you can get the back of your shoulder and the back of your arm on the floor, the deeper the possibility of stretch and opening through your chest and the front of your shoulder will be. So that weight of the arm can be a really wonderful gift. All right, on this next one, we're going to roll the bowling ball over to the right, and hang out here, and then open and close the fist. And loosen up that nerve. Zzz, more than one nerves that connect from right below our brain all the way out to our fingertips. Pretty amazing stuff. Good, and keeping that length, let's roll the bowling ball back to center. Slide that hand down to the side. And just move it around a little bit, reset. Very nice. All right, let's do a little hip compression. So in order to reset, I'm just kind of move it around. And what I want to find is that little bit of arch in my spine that's neutral spine. So it's the amount of arch you'd have in your spine if you're not trying to do anything else. And we're going to try to keep that natural arch of the spine, picking up the right knee and bringing it in towards the chest. Pull it in towards the chest, using those muscles in the front of your hip, and drop it back down, tap it, and lift it back up again. So we are working the muscles in the front of the hip, which are often muscles that get cranky, especially if you do a lot of sitting. And these muscles, yes, we need to stretch them out for sure, but a lot of times they also really want compression. The compression is going to help them relax as well, not just the stretching. So feeling that muscle engage. Be careful here not to let this hip bone ride up. So what you don't want to do is this, where I end up using my waist muscles instead of my hip muscles. So yeah, I can get my knee up further if I do that, but who cares? So let's try to keep that hip long, keep that little bit of arch in the back, even though it means that the knee doesn't come in as far. However far it comes in, the important thing is that you feel the hip muscles working. We're going to stop with that knee in towards the chest and do some little pulses here. So I'm really exploring these hip muscles. I want to feel it in the groin, in the front of the hip, feeling the way those muscles gradually bring that thigh in closer and closer to my chest. And then when I'm feeling ready, I'm going to grab the back of that thigh with my hands and give it even one more yummy squeeze. And I'm still not flattening my back on the floor. I'm still keeping that little bit of arch. And we can move the thigh out to the side and bring it across, moving it around. And that little bit of movement, you're just kind of noticing like where things feel a little tighter, where they feel a little pinchy. If there's a spot that feels pinchy, you can kind of wiggle into it a little bit. Muscles love wiggling. And then stop with that knee as cozy as you can get it. And we're going to try to straighten the leg without letting the thigh come away from the belly. Only straighten the leg as much as you can without letting the thigh bone move. And then just come back. So this is an engagement of these knee extensor muscles, the muscles just above your kneecap. And you can feel the way those muscles pull on whatever tightness you have in the back of the leg. So the leg might shake a little bit doing this because you are essentially playing tug of war in your knee joint, which, while it sounds creepy, is actually really good for your knee joint. So this is excellent for the knees and the hips, and it's a really good, gentle stretch for the hamstrings in the back of the leg. Now, the next time we straighten the leg, we're going to hang out there and just get a little bit of foot and ankle mobilization. So here I'm going to flex and point my foot. And as I do this, I am trying to get my toes involved too. So when I flex, I'm going to pull my toes back towards my face. When I point, I'm reaching them for the ceiling. So I'm working my foot a little bit, as well as the muscles in my shin and my calf. We can do some circles here, working through that ankle joint. Try to get those circles as big as possible, like you're scooping out the inside of a peanut butter jar with your toes. Sounds fun. Switch directions, big giant circles, little snap, crackle, pop happening there maybe. Good. And then we're going to relax that knee down. And to come out of this, I'm going to use my hands so that my leg is as relaxed as possible as I'm lowering it down to the floor. And then just extend that leg out, all the blood's coming back into this compressed front of the hip, and just let that open out a little bit. I like to do a little bit of wiggling here. You can also just let that leg really sit super heavy on the floor, and feel how these muscles now, as the blood flows back into them, can just relax and lengthen through the front of the hip. All right, I feel like we should probably do the left side so it doesn't get jealous. So using as little effort as possible, drag that heel and position your right leg with the knee bent. Find those nice even hip bones, and we're gonna lift that left, the other right knee up into our chest and lower it back down. And again, I'm checking in, I'm making sure I still have that natural amount of arch in my back, however much arch is natural for your back. But what we don't want to see is that as this knee lifts, my spinal position changes, right? And again, that would enable a more impressive movement. But who are you trying to impress, right? The important thing is to feel those hip muscles and the way that they work, and to develop that relationship with them, because sometimes even the hip muscles can be a little bit shy and quiet, and we want to have a nice relationship with them and be able to feel them and use them when we need them and keep them happy. So let's lift up that knee, and we're going to do our little pulses in towards the chest here. Another thing to look out for, by the way, is to not press with that foot, right? So this leg, it already did its workout. It is chilling right now. It is not doing anything at all. So I'm doing little pulses in with this left leg, feeling that deeper and deeper compression. And then as my hip feels ready, I go ahead and grab the back of that thigh, and we're just gonna open out to the side, close back in, snuggling that leg in. Again, you can find a little jiggle here if you want, jiggling it around to help that muscle feel comfortable getting short muscle. Sometimes muscles have a harder time being short than being long. It's not infrequent. So sometimes you have to really just be nice to them to get them to feel short and feel safe that way. All right, let's snuggle that leg in, holding it into the chest. Straighten the leg out. Just until you feel that stretch. Oh, hello, hamstring stretch. Little shake there. Thank you. And bend the knee. And every time you extend that leg, you can feel those knee muscles having that tug of war with the tightness in the back of the leg. That relationship on both sides of the knee joint. And that gentle, very healthy, very loving stretch of the hamstrings. You might feel it in the back of the knee. You might feel it in the thigh meat itself. You might feel it up under your butt. All of these are great places to feel it. There's no wrong place to feel this. Foot is just relaxed for this whole sequence. So I'm getting ready to do the foot movement on the next round. I'm going to straighten that leg out, hold it in the extended position. So I'm still working those knee muscles. Flex and point. And probably what will happen is when you flex the foot, that stretch will get a little deeper. You might start to feel it in your calf as well. It might just feel a little nervy, a little tingly. So this is that sciatic nerve, very famous nerve that we are stretching out, because who wants a tight sciatic nerve? Not me. Probably not you. Although I don't want to make any assumptions about what you're into. Good. And let's do our circles, big giant circles. Don't forget those toes. Use your foot muscles. That's why you have them. And switch directions. Counterclockwise. Scooping peanut butter out of imaginary jar. Very nice for 3, 2, 1. And then relax that leg down. And now I'm going to use my hands to slowly lower that heavy, relaxed leg down to the floor. Let it extend out and let all the blood rush back into those hip flexors. And see if you can just let them be super gooey. Feel like that leg is made out of a ton of bricks, sitting heavy on the floor. And let it relax. The relaxing is part of the workout. Isn't that cool when relaxing gets to be part of the workout? All right. Bend that knee in, dragging in the heel. Let's just go into a little bit of windshield wiper here, loosening up the hip joints a little bit more. And then we're going to gently and lovingly bring ourselves up to sitting for the super hardcore part of the workout. Now we're going to take that delightful, relaxing movement and just give it a little bit of real world application to hold our bodies up and support our spines and open up our hips a little. So go ahead and find your butterfly stretch. So feet together, knees open. If sitting like this feels like a real strain, like you're like this, please elevate your butt. Sit on a couple pillows or yoga blocks or whatever. Elevating your butt is going to make this a lot easier. So once you've found a position that works for you, grab a hold of your ankles, and we're going to go back into our old friend, spinal movement. So just like we did laying on our backs, we're going to exhale, drop the chest down away from the chin, tuck the pelvis under, and then inhale, chest lifts towards the chin, whole back of the body engages. I'm sticking out my butt and bringing my ribs to an open position. So the hands holding on to the ankles here enables me to use my arms to help me a little bit, because it is a little bit more work when we're sitting up and we have our hips in this position where they have to also contribute to the movement. So that hip compression that we worked on, those same muscles are part of what helps us sit up. We just want to enable them to be assisted by our torso muscles. So feeling the front of the body work and the back of the body work, and seeing how those muscles contribute to your posture through this range. Again, we want to make sure that the head isn't moving up and down, right? So just like when we were laying on our backs, the head doesn't really play a big part of this. The neck doesn't play a big part. So you don't want to be looking down at your feet and then looking up at the ceiling. Just pick a spot out in front of you. Look at me and keep the head nice and still as you go. Let's do one more. Gradually increasing the range here as you get more used to it. And then see if you can find that neutral spine, just like when you were lying on your back. So the neutral spine usually has a little bit of arch in the lower back. Upper back maybe goes a tiny bit forward, but not hunchy, right? And see if we can use both the muscles in the front and the back, that co-contraction, all of these muscles in the side waist, front waist, back waist, upper back muscles work together to support the spine in this nice, beautiful, stacked, comfortable position. And we're going to just do some little pulses, bringing the knees down towards the floor in order to open up the hip flexors a little bit. So yes, the hip flexors are helping to hold you up, but they're not doing it alone. So they still get to lengthen a little bit, and you can get that activation through the butt in order to feel a little bit more like the load of the body is being shared, not just by the hips, but by everything, right? The butt, the back, the front, the side, the hips, all of it working together. And that choreography, that collaboration between the muscles, enables you to sit up with ease. Keeping this position, we're going to try to bring the arms up to our Dracula position. So arms crossed over the chest. And now we're going to add a little twist, literally. So I'm going to twist to the right and to the left. And this is going to add a little extra challenge to the obliques, right? Those muscles in the side of the waist, because we did a bunch of waking up for the spine going forward and backward, but that's not all the spine does. The spine also twists, and we want the spine to be comfortable with this twisting position. Feel the muscles that control and support it, which are those waist muscles. So as you're doing this movement, you want to feel these muscles in the side body, right in here and right in here, that make that twist happen. And I don't want to make it seem like my right side only works when I'm going to the right and my left side only works when I'm going to the left. Both sides work in both directions in slightly different ways. So your waist should be working the entire time. Let's do one more each side. Gradually trying to go a little further every time.
and then come back to center. And now we're going to do a side bend, but I don't want you to just collapse over to the side. As we go to the left, think about taking this right rib and lifting it up towards the ceiling. So I'm lifting that right rib and dropping it back down. So it's not the deepest side bend. I'm not trying to get my bottom shoulder on the floor or anything like that. I'm just trying to feel that this oblique is both working and stretching at the same time. It's working to hold me up, and it's stretching because I'm leaning away from it. So it is, for you workout nerds, an eccentric contraction, which means it's working and getting longer at the same time, which is a great thing for our spinal muscles to be able to do so that we have access to all these different ranges. And as you go, make sure that you're still breathing. You don't want to be holding your breath. Shoulders stay down away from your ears. You're not using your shoulders to make this happen. It should feel pretty relaxed and easy. And now we're going to lift that left rib up one more time and come back up to center. Let's hold on to those ankles again. Move it around, flap the knees, relax. Sitting up nice and tall, I'm going to extend my arms out in front of me and just try to hold this position. This is where we're really practicing our posture and feeling the muscles that we've woken up so gently and so lovingly in the way that they hold us up in this position. If this feels easy to you, you can make it a little bit harder by opening the arms out to the side. Now, gravity is a little bit more aggressive in trying to pull us backwards, so you have to work a little harder. And if you really want to challenge yourself even more, you can bring your arms up over your head, and now those shoulder extensors, the upper back muscles are working too, so my whole back body has to work. I'm going to press my knees down into the floor to take a little bit of the work out of the hip flexors. Again, if you're dying, bring your arms to an easier position. It's more important that this feels sustainable and you're feeling it in the right positions, that it feels workable for you, than that you get to any particular position. Good. From here, dropping the hands down to the floor, and move the body side to side, a little bit at a time, just bringing the body forward. And sing hello. This might feel like a stretch through the inner thighs, the groin, the butt. There are various different places. You could feel it in your lower back. Wherever it is that you feel it, just say hi to it. This rocking back and forth kind of makes it extra super yummy mellow. Muscles love wiggling. I may have mentioned 10 or 1,000 times. And then we're going to walk the hands out in front a little bit more, pressing the palms into the floor, and we're going to find our old friend, spinal movement, for the last time in this workout. So squeeze those back muscles. Chest comes up towards the chin, and then front muscles round the spine up towards the ceiling. And coming back and forth between those two positions, really noticing how, as the spinal position changes, it changes the way the stretch feels in the hips. Right? It changes the relationship of the muscles. So depending on where you're tight, either the arch or the rounding might feel a little bit more intense. And you get that extra juicy stretch there as your spine learns its full capacities. You notice I just scrooched my hands forward. If you start to loosen up a little bit more, you can do that too. Let's do one more rounding. And then we're going to stop in the arch position. Head stays nice and relaxed. And again, move it side to side. And maybe you come down a little bit deeper here. Maybe you don't. But just see if you can feel the way the torso muscles help to pull your rib cage away from your hips. Big breath. Press those hands down into the floor. And to come back up, we're tucking the pelvis under. Rolling up one vertebrae at a time, stacking the spine, getting the hair out of our face. Brilliant! You did it! Hopefully you feel super mellow and just a little bit more gooey and relaxed after that wonderful workout. If you like it, please like it. Subscribe below for more. We have some more spicy full body workouts, as well as a lot of different tutorials breaking things down and nerding out about all things flexibility, come nerd out with me. I can do it forever. All right. Mwah. Happy bendings.